I have a feeling that the 49ers offense is going to bounce back in a big way in the second half of the season, even if Christian McCaffrey never returns from injury. I'll explain why. Plus, best bets and what to watch for on the bye week. It's all coming up on the Gold Diggers podcast, brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Diggers podcast on the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Network. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. She is Michelle Majuk. Michelle, the Niners are off, so we're going to have a nice, stress-free Sunday.
Yeah, and also my Steelers are off. Like, why did the two teams have to have the bye on the same week? They're the only two teams on bye. So what am I going to watch for this week? Boring.
You may not know this, but I actually have nothing to do with the NFL schedule, so I can't answer that question.
I wish I had something to do with it. Pretty sad.
Yeah, I hate the way the buys start in like week 4. The whole thing is crazy. I get it. It's hard to make the schedule, whatever. But anyway, we are here. The Niners are off this weekend. We'll give you some things to watch. We're still going to do some bets for you, just about the NFL generally, obviously. And we're going to talk a crazy thing that 49ers beat writer has put out there. We'll get to all that. But I want to start with my hot take of the morning. And it's something that I came across this morning, and I put it in 49ers in 5, if you're interested. Basically, I think the 49ers offense is going to bounce back in the second half of the year, even if Christian McCaffrey doesn't come back. And I think of it for a few reasons. First of all, and the biggest reason is they're not going to see as much man coverage in the second half of the year. Matt Barrows has an interesting column up in The Athletic, and he broke it down. And it's pretty sweet. Basically, 8 of their 9 remaining opponents use man coverage less than 29% of the time. The only team that uses it more than that are the Lions, who are basically like 50-50, more or less. Now, I get that those teams will probably use more man coverage than normal against the 49ers because they've had issues with it, but it's not who they are. They're not built to play that way. They're not designed to play that way. So that is the biggest thing, because we know what Brock can do against zone coverage. He shreds zone coverage. That's where he's most comfortable. So just that fact alone, Michelle, makes me think they're going to come back around in the second half.
I mean, they're already a top offense this year. My thing is not so much, okay, yay, they get to face more zone coverage. Like, sure, that's great. How are they going to fix their red zone issues if Christian McCaffrey doesn't stay healthy? Like, that's the key here for me.
I think that it's going to become less of an issue because I think they're going to start scoring from outside the red zone more.
That's
I think
a hard thing to depend on.
Yes, it is. But this offense has been good at it, especially George Kittle, who I believe has more like 30-plus yard touchdowns than red zone touchdowns over the last few years, because he's a freaking mutant, man. And he's been killing it this year also. So I think that will help them. Now, I agree the biggest fix in the red zone would be Christian McCaffrey for sure. But I also think now that Kyle Shanahan has started to figure it out a little bit. He started to adjust. He has 8 games worth of data now to see how teams are playing with him. He's been in the lab. He's going to, whip up some crazy ass plays for the second half to counter exactly what teams have been doing. So that's another reason why I am super high on the Niners offense, being closer to what we saw in that third quarter of the Cowboys game when they were just simply a wrecking ball.
Now, why are you even considering, though, that Christian McCaffrey wouldn't come back? Doesn't it seem like a really high probability he'll be back after the bye?
Well, if you listen to insiders like Schefter and Rappaport, hold on. That is beverage number 1 that you're drinking out of?
It's an energy drink from Starbucks.
The over-under on additional beverages that you have next to you right now is 1.5, and I'm taking the over. Did I win that bet?
Obviously, I have a water and an energy drink. Yes.
Yes. All right.
I'll always have at least 2 drinks with me. That was too easy. The line should be 2.5, and you would have failed.
I set the line too low to ensure my victory.
Mm-hmm.
So if you listen to insiders, they make it sound like it's a done deal. Like he's coming back. Everything is good. Full steam ahead. But when you listen to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan talk about it, it seems much more touch and go. They're going to ramp him up, and practice really hard and see how he responds. And then if he's all good, they'll open his practice window for the week coming after they play the games on Sunday, and then we'll see where he's at. So I don't know if I'm as, optimistic as some of the insiders are after hearing Kyle and John talk about that.
Okay. Well, I just want to take it from the insiders because I need him back. I need him back. I think he'll be back. I'm going to hold out hope. But the 49ers, when they get to the red zone, they need him back. I just don't know how they fix it without him because it's now been 8 weeks and we haven't seen them get any better in the red zone. It's just such a struggle for them. They need him back. They need to get their kicking game right as well. When will why can't I think of it?
Jake Moody.
Yeah. When will Jake Moody be back?
It's very possible he's back for this game against the Buccaneers. They were 4 of 5 in the red zone against the Cowboys, and the only time they didn't score in the red zone was when Guerrero slid. So that's a good sign. Like, they were able to cash it. Now, look, the Cowboys are the Cowboys. We know they have issues, all that stuff. But at least the last time we saw them, they appeared to be a little better at it, and hopefully that continues. We'll have to wait and see. We don't know. Alejandro Villalpando? Sorry, I'm terrible at last names. Alejandro says, only use McCaffrey in the red zone, LOL. I did wonder about that, Michelle.
Yeah.
Like, especially this first game, right? What if you're like third downs in red zone, 23s in the game, everything else will be Guerrero and Jordan Mason? I don't think that's the craziest idea.
In between the 20s, I'm fine with that. Or unless, like, if you have a 3rd and 7, I want Christian McCaffrey out there to give you that, that another option as a check down. McCaffrey can pick it up after the catch. Like 3rd downs and red zone. Like, that's where I would want Christian McCaffrey in. Give them all the carries on 1st and 2nd down whenever you're going to do that in between the 20s. Sure. Don't put that on to Christian McCaffrey.
Basically, you want touchdown vulture Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're fine with that.
Yeah.
Right. Because from our perspective, it doesn't matter. RD Ripley says, yes, that's the reason you struggled is because it's a last name. I don't really know what you're talking about, but Alejandro said I did a pretty good job pronouncing his last name. So there you go. Jerks. I like to pronounce people's last names correctly. I have a last name that gets frequently mispronounced. You do as well. I'm sure you've heard some whoppers.
Yeah, my teachers never tried. Tried.
Yeah. When you have 3 consonants in a row and the consonants are G, D, and Z, I imagine you've heard some things in your day.
Oh, it's terrible.
What's the worst one you've ever heard?
I don't know, but a lot of people just like not even trying to say magic. I'm like, okay, sure.
You know what? That's not the worst guess. Magdziuk, and you go magic. I get it.
Yeah,
and that would be kind of cool. Michelle Magic, like. It's not a bad name.
You know that song, I Got the Magic in Me? I always think, I got the magic in me.
Oh, that's going to live forever. Thank you so much for that. We record this show, right?
Yeah. Now everyone can sing it whenever they hear the song.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to use that drop also. So thank you very much. All right. Let me just write that down. 8 minutes and 23 seconds into the show. Very, very good. All right. We're going to get to some best bets in a second, but I do want to congratulate us, Michelle, because we killed it last week with the best bets. We have been killing it all year. Last week, we were on top of it. You had the best bet with Brock Purdy rushing yards, take the over. Bang, he hit the over. Now, we got burned a little bit with our Jordan Mason props because he got hurt, but we also had Nick Bosa, anytime sack. Ding, ring the bell. Brock Purdy, under 30.5 attempts. Ding, ring the bell. George Kittle, anytime touchdown. Ding, ring the bell. And I told you to take a flyer on Brock Purdy, anytime touchdown, which was plus 400. And you got that too. We crushed it. Go us.
Listen, let's go. And we're, there's no Steelers, there's no 49ers this week, but there are a lot of games. I know you're talking to 11, like there's not a lot of games that matter too much for the 49ers. I disagree. I think that the Vikings game is huge, right? I want the Colts to take them down. The Rams Seahawks could have huge implications on this division. If the Cardinals lose, whoever wins between the Seahawks and the 49ers, or Seahawks and the Rams, are going to be the divisional leader going into week 10.
Yeah, I guess we have more faith in the Colts now that Joe Flacco is the quarterback and not
Oh,
Anthony
yeah.
Richardson. But this is why you have to listen to us for our bets. And again, we'll get to them later in the show. But please listen to us. And if you're going to bet, please use BetUS. You can receive 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. So listen to what we say, make some bets, and you'll make some money. And you know what? Making a little cash on the 49ers bye week, not a bad thing to do. We'll get to our best bets later in the show, but I want to talk about one other thing, Niners related thing, before we do. I have been, like all of you, puckering up in the fourth quarter because this team struggles in the fourth. Like they just seem to lose all sense of anything that was successful early in the game, and they are letting teams walk right through the door and snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. So I gave Michelle a homework assignment this week. I wanted her to dig into the Niners' issues in the fourth quarter. And for anybody that doesn't know, Michelle is a researcher for NFL Network, so she's good at this sort of thing. Michelle, when you looked at the Niners in the fourth quarter, what did you find?
Yeah, so they're allowing 8.9 points per game in the fourth quarter. That's the third most in the NFL, behind only the Jaguars and the Ravens. But it's also like they're allowing only 2.1 in the first quarter. They're one of the best teams in that area. In first quarter, they're dominant, but they're still pretty good in the second and third. And then they're just kind of falling apart in the fourth. They're giving up those points, giving up 103 total yards per game in the fourth quarter when they're only allowing about 65 from quarters 1 through 3 on average. But also, it might go along with the offense because Brock Purdy has one passing touchdown, 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter this year. They have 9 total giveaways as a team. In the second half, I should say, not just in the fourth quarter, but in the second half, it's still tied for the second most in the NFL. Only the Titans have more giveaways in the second half than the 49ers this year. They're tied with the Titans. Only the Raiders have more giveaways than the 49ers in the second half. Only 3 teams those are the only 3 teams with 8+ giveaways in the second half. So like the 49ers 9 is something to be worried about. And also in that Cowboys game, Brock Purdy could have thrown another interception in that fourth quarter.
Yes.
We could be talking about a loss, right? Like that was a terrible decision he made that should have been picked off in the fourth quarter. And who knows if they win the game. That could have been 4 interceptions for him in the fourth quarter. So that's something they really need to get under control. Hold on to the dang ball in the fourth quarter.
They have to learn how to close games out. I'm stunned they don't know, but they need to learn to close the door in those situations.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
That's from a very old movie called Glengarry Glen Ross, which is a really good movie that you should watch. If anybody's old like me, you know the movie, you know the scene. It was very famous back in the day. It's one of my all-time favorites. Coffee's for closers only. The Niners are not closers, and you have to be, because they're not going to be playing in blowout wins, Michelle. They're not going to be in a situation where you could just let the other team do whatever they want, because the team is not good enough. They're not as good as they were last year. They have to figure it out. And to me, the offense has to figure it out. It has to be the offense closing it down, because here's what I can see. And I feel like a lot of 49er games go this way. Niners have a decent lead. The other team will score. The Niners offense will get the ball back. Maybe it's like a 10-point lead. You need the offense, if nothing else, to pick up a couple of first downs, which will help you flip field position if you do have to punt. That should be like the bare minimum that this offense does. Ideally, you would like them to be able to choke the game away. Oh, you get the ball back with a 10-point lead and 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, take 4, 5, 6 minutes off of the clock so that even if you don't score, if the other team gets the ball back, they're just not going to have enough time to get the multiple scores that they need. It seems like what's happening is the offense gets the ball back and it's boom, 3 and out immediately. And maybe an incomplete pass is in there, which stops the clock. Like, that is the thing that they have to get better at the second half of the year.
And I do think Christian McCaffrey would help there too, to bleed out the clock, to get those hard yards. Like, you just think about how many times Christian McCaffrey just made a huge play late in the game just to close out games. Like, we need him back. But also, I want to talk about the defense as well, because it does seem like they're changing up their defensive scheme in the fourth quarter, right? They're just allowing all these plays, but they're getting into cover 4 a lot, which is like 4 deep defenders, right? They're putting a lot of guys deep. It's almost like a prevent almost, but 10% higher rate playing cover 4 in the fourth quarter than they do in quarters 1 through 3. But they also had the third highest cover 4 rate in the NFL in the fourth quarter this year. So they're kind of just like playing different than they do in quarters 1 through 3 when their defense is much better. They're giving up those yards in the middle. They're like kind of relying on their linebackers underneath, like they're giving up those underneath things. But it's almost like they're just getting into prevent a little bit too early.
I think Heineman on Twitch sums it up perfectly. Kyle is trying not to lose. I do think that this is it's creating sort of a feedback loop for the 49ers. So the Niners have had issues in the fourth quarter. Kyle's generally conservative anyway. And so now, because they've had those issues in the fourth quarter, I feel like Kyle is like, well, we can't have this happen again. We got to do that. And it's making him more conservative when he should be more aggressive. He's playing into the defense's hands by being conservative. And I think it's just creating this vicious cycle where it's like, we can't give up yards and points and we can't lose. So I'm going to be conservative to prevent that from happening. And then that leads to it actually happening again. And it just snowballs.
And, I know they're not playing this week, but looking to next week against the Buccaneers, they're a team that you could be up by 20 and Baker's not afraid to just chuck it up, right? I mean, they can score a lot of points quickly. Now, they still might not have Mike Evans, so that could be a big deal. If Mike Evans doesn't play, like it's going to be much harder for them to chuck it up and score points. But that's not a team that you can feel comfortable with a 10-point lead getting into the fourth quarter. Like Baker can come back. So they're going to have to figure out their defense. Don't get into prevent. Don't go deep too early and let them come back in that way, because we know the offense is struggling to kind of burn that clock out when they do have the chance.
And I also agree with this. 187 says the offense can't save us every time defense gets paid also. That is true. I 100% agree with that. But the offense is the stronger unit of the team to me, clearly. I mean, that's where the all pros are, right? That's where McCaffrey will be when he gets back, and Kittle and Deebo. Ayuk is obviously not there, but like that is where the bulk of the talent is. So to me, that has to be the unit that you depend on. And you have the offensive head coach, right? The guy that's supposed to be able to draw up all these crazy plays. Like, lean into your strength. The strength of your team should be the unit that you rely on to close out games. That's clearly the offense. It is the offense. If the offense had been able to do it in either Super Bowl, they'd have a 6th Lombardi trophy right now. They weren't able to do it. Like that, the first Super Bowl against the Chiefs, Super Bowl 54, the offense just stalled out in the second half of the fourth quarter. If they had just been able to pick up a couple more first downs, the Chiefs probably don't have time to come back. But they didn't. They didn't, and that is how doors get open for other teams to make the comeback. By the way, Michelle, speaking of the Super Bowl, we are officially 100 days from Super Bowl 59.
100 days from watching the 49ers win their 6th Super Bowl.
Let's go. That would be awesome. I think it's in New Orleans this year. I'm hoping to be down there even if the Niners aren't in it. My plan is to cover it for the Fans First Sports Network, so hopefully the Niners are in it, but if not, hopefully I'll be there. You ever been?
That will be the first time maybe we meet each other in person.
Wait, are you going to be in New Orleans?
I mean, it's only like a 2-hour drive for me, so.
Yes.
Well, like three hours, but yeah, I want to go for some of the, during the week of the Super Bowl for sure.
Do it. That would be fantastic. We're going to have fun. If you come down to New Orleans, we are going to have fun.
It'll be crazy to meet you for the first time.
I know. How many years we've been doing a show together now? We've never been in the same room.
It's crazy.
Very, very strange. So are you on board with all the stuff I'm saying, or do you think I'm a crazy person? Are you on board with the offense looking better down the stretch? Are you on board with the fourth quarter issues, hopefully them solving some of that? Or do you think that I'm crazy?
I'm a little bit worried about the fourth quarter issues with the defense because I just don't know how they're going to fix that. The offense is very, very clear, right? Get guys healthier. And even Deebo, like, I can't believe how well he played coming off pneumonia, but like get his lungs healthier, get Christian McCaffrey back. Like, there's no reason this offense shouldn't get better. And now also you've given the opportunities to Jordan Mason and Isaac Rendo. They wouldn't have gotten those opportunities if Christian McCaffrey was healthy all year. Now they see what they can do. Now you have a backfield with 3 guys you can trust if Christian McCaffrey is back. They should be a dominant offense. It's just, can Kyle Shanahan put it all together?
That'll be an interesting question, too, down the stretch, because the rookie class has played such a big part in this team's success this year. Eric Branch had a good column in the San Francisco Chronicle about this. The rookie draft picks this season are on pace to play over 2,600 snaps this year. What do we always talk about with rookies down the stretch? They all hit the rookie wall, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's assume that the Niners rookies this year are going to be like every other rookie. That may come at some point this year. And we're talking Pooney. We're talking Renardo Green. We're talking Ricky Pearsall. That could be a scary proposition because they are depending on so many young players this season.
Now, Ricky just got out there, right? So he shouldn't
True.
hit any wall. He should only get stronger as the season goes on, right? Because as he gets more experience, he should get better. I don't do guards normally like hit the rookie wall. That seems like a weird thing to me. Like I feel like Pooney should be okay.
I'm just going to assume that they all do just because they're not used to the length of the NFL season, number one. And number two, you're doing all draft prep stuff. So you never get to rest that first offseason when you come into the NFL because you finish playing college football and then it's train. Then you're into training camp in the NFL and then you're into the most physically demanding football you've ever played in your life. So that's why you hit the wall, because everybody needs a rest. You can only keep going for so long.
That's true. Now they get their bye, get some rest. Lay
Right.
down the entire time, Pooney. Just be off your feet. That's what we need.
Exactly. By the way, if you're wondering, last year's rookie class for the 49ers played 789 snaps total, all of last year. So it just goes to show how much more they have begun depending on those guys. And good. That's why I think that they may not make a move before the trade deadline, because I think they see the value of this rookie class. And it's like, oh my God, it's make this team so much better, so much deeper than it would be otherwise. Are we sure we want to give up, a draft pick at the trade deadline, or do we want to keep all our draft picks and really try to load up again for 2025?
I don't even know who they go out and get. Who would they add to this roster?
Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen.
I doubt it, but that would be the only level of player that I would want them to give up anything for at the trade.
You would have to give up how many firsts? At least two.
A lot. Yeah, you would have to give up a ton. And I would be okay with that for him. But I don't want to give up a second round pick.
You can get another guy who almost gets sacks. Just
right. That's the thing. I don't want to give up.
I was making fun of Myles Garrett, the almost sack guy. He's really good at those almost sacks.
Well, so is Bosa, so we're good.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You can have two of those guys.
I was looking, that the sack leader on the 49ers right now is Nick Bosa with 4.5. 4.5.
He gets almost more.
I saw, who was Zadarius Smith was somebody that the Niners are rumored to go after. And I was like, oh, he's only got 5 sacks on the year. And then I looked at the 49ers and I was like, well, turns out that's better than everybody we have.
I mean, 5 sacks, though. That's not the worst for a role player, right? Like Zadarius Smith. I mean, that's on pace to have 10 sacks on the season. That'd be great for him, for Smith, not for Bosa.
Right. When I first saw it, though, I expected it to be more, and then it was still more than anybody on the 49ers. I was like, oh, well, there we go. But, I mean, Shanahan and Lynch have been pretty nonchalant, really, about the deadline. You know what? They both kind of said, we don't really like any of the guys that are out there. I know some people were saying trade for Jadeveon Clowney because he's on Carolina right now. I just feel like that could fall into that category of let's get the old veteran that used to be good and let's hope he can, catch lightning in a bottle down the stretch with the Niners like they tried with Randy Gregory.
I actually kind of want them to go get Zadarius Smith now. I'm actually on board for that. Let's go.
Oh, okay. So what are you giving up?
I don't know. I guess it matters how much they're going to have to pay of his contract or what he's owed. I haven't looked into that, but you should probably get him for a 4th.
Man, I don't know. They took Malik Mustafa with a 4th round pick last year.
They're going to get him cheap. I mean, Zadarius Smith is not going to go for a lot. So 4th, 5th, sure. Do it up.
The problem is they might actually start winning more games now that Deshaun Watson's not playing. So they may be less willing to trade some of their stars, but we'll have to see down the stretch. Again, trade deadline is Tuesday. There's something else going on Tuesday that probably a lot more people will be paying attention to, but we don't need to get into that. Let's talk about some best bets for the week. Niners are off, but there are some games that you've got your eye on, some games that I've got my eye on. What is the first bet you want to talk about for this week, Michelle?
Well, let's talk about the frauds of the league, the Vikings, the biggest frauds out there. They started 5-0, lost their last two. The Colts, they face this week. Now, it is a home game for the Vikings, but the Colts are getting plus 5.5. All 8 of the Colts games this season have been decided by 6 points or fewer.
Wow.
They're the first team in that NFL history to have each of their first 8 games decided by 6 points or fewer. So kind of crazy. But also one of the games that was decided by 6 points was a win for them, right? They won by 6 against Miami. The only game that they lost by more than 5.5 points was against the Packers in week 2 by 6 points. Their other losses, 2 points to the Texans, 3 points to the Jaguars, 3 points to the Texans. Again, all close games. So maybe the Colts end up losing this game, but Joe Flacco is going to make it interesting. And I think they lose by a field goal if they do. 5.5 is too many points for them.
I like it. I'm on board. Obviously, I did not think Sam Darnold was even capable of playing as good as he's played this year. Now, the last 2 weeks, he's come down to earth a little bit. They are not having the same success.
Because this team, when they don't get a turnover, is one of the worst in the league. They even when they were 5-0, when they were getting the ball off of a kickoff or off of a punt, they were bottom 5 in the league in offense efficiency in like every metric. Sam Darnold sucks after that. He's only good when the defense gets a takeaway. They were getting an insane amount of turnovers on defense for the first 5 weeks. That's kind of slowed down. That's what's going to happen. Now, Joe Flacco could throw 3 interceptions here, right? And Sam Darnold then could get lucky and be close. But this offense, if they actually have to drive down the field, is terrible.
And look, anytime you've got an AFC team against an NFC team, root for the AFC team because you want anybody that's competing with the 49ers for a wild card spot to lose. I'm going to assume that Detroit is going to win the NFC North. So that means I want Minnesota to lose. I want Chicago to lose. I want Green Bay to lose. So I will be a huge Colts fan this weekend. And this was the perfect time for them to make the switch because Anthony Richardson man.
Yeah.
He's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get why the Colts are switching it like for Joe Flacco, because even if he gets you to the playoffs, you're not winning anything. So keep giving Anthony Richardson the playing time. I mean, the dude has had 10 NFL starts and he was super raw coming out of school. You knew that. And you still took him top 4. You knew he was going to need playing time. This is like the Trey Lance situation all over again. It's like you took him knowing he was going to need playing time because he only had 13 starts in college for Anthony Richardson. And they're already benching him for Joe Flacco. That maybe gets you to the playoffs and losing terribly in the wild card run. I don't know. I don't get it, but it does give them higher chances to win this week.
Chris Ballard's about to get fired. That's why he made the quarterback change, because if they keep losing games, he's going to get fired. But I agree with you. And like, how can you look at what the 49ers did with Trey Lance and then take a quarterback that's basically just as raw, maybe not quite, but almost, and do the exact same thing and bench it? Like, let that guy, if you've decided you to go with this guy. So if that's what you've decided, you might as well do the thing that's best for his development. And they're not doing it. They're like, oh no, not only are they not doing it, they're like, no, Flacco's the guy going forward. Like, they've already it's crazy what's happening in Indianapolis right now. But hey, get it together for a week, please. Take the Vikings down. We got this super chat from Matthew Rowley, who says, why are CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy treated so different? CJ has been bad much of this year. All I hear are excuses. Brock has 2 bad games and his career is over. I don't know that his career is over. I think Brock has deserved criticism, but I'll say this. CJ Stroud's last 2 games have been really bad.
They have been. Now all of his playmakers are hurt, and it was against the Jets. And also the Texans offensive line is absolutely atrocious, and he's getting destroyed all the time. They do definitely get treated. I mean, Brock Purdy gets treated differently than every other quarterback in the league. He's not allowed to have a bad game. As soon as Brock Purdy has a bad game, he's trash. He's a system quarterback. Blah, blah, blah. Like, he's the only quarterback in the league that's not allowed to have a bad game.
Oh, by the way, I misspoke. 2 out of the CJ Stroud's last 3 games were bad. Green Bay, he was 10 of 21 for 86 yards in the game. And against the Jets, he was 11 of 30 for 191 yards. Yuck and poo for CJ Stroud. Brock has been bad. I feel like what's different about Brock is that when he's been bad and you say he's been bad, people go nuts. Like they act like, one, he's never ever had a bad game, and two, you can't ever say he was bad. Like when guys are good, we say they're good, and when they're bad, we say they're bad. Like it's not a hard thing to understand, but people seem to have a hard time when you criticize Brock Purdy.
I think the issue is that when he has a good game, people give excuses as to why it was a good game. Like no one ever is just like Brock Purdy, amazing game. It's like, wow, look at his weapons. Look at Kyle Shanahan, what he did. And then when he's bad, it's not like, well, look, his weapons drop balls or or maybe Shanahan called a bad game. It's just all Brock Purdy then.
I do. I praise him all the time.
He's had one bad game this year, Brock Purdy.
I wouldn't say that.
One bad game.
I would say
there's some games that were just okay, average, but he's had one bad game.
I disagree. He's had more. I didn't think he was very good against Minnesota at all. And obviously against the Chiefs, he struggled. Like a lot of quarterbacks struggle against the Chiefs, to be fair. Continuing to look at bets for this week, one bet that I like the Lions, -3 over the Packers for a couple different reasons. One, I think the Lions are the best team in football right now. Like I really do. They are destroying people. They are on a run like the 49ers were on last year. Like they're not just winning, they're embarrassing. They ran a hook and ladder play for an offensive lineman against the Cowboys. Like they are just on another level. And I don't know who the quarterback's going to be for Green Bay, but the two options are not good. They favor the Lions. It's either going to be a gimpy Jordan Love, who's got a groin injury. By the way, there's no such thing as a minor groin injury. Just going to throw that out there. And if it's not a gimpy Jordan Love, it's Malik Willis, who has played well, but like it's still Malik Willis against the best team in the NFL. So I love the Lions. I'm only giving up a field goal, and I just feel like this is going to be easy money for Detroit. I'm taking the Lions.
Yeah, and I think Jordan Love's going to start this game. It seems like he's trending that way. And the Lions defense, I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I wrote it for work. The Lions defense plays the heaviest man zone coverage this year on defense. Yep. And Jordan Love against man coverage has the third worst passer rating among all quarterbacks. Only better than Will Levis and Anthony Richardson against man this year. Ooh. Also, the Lions have been blitzing like crazy since they lost Aiden Hutchinson, which has actually their quarterback pressure has been higher without Aiden Hutchinson, but it's because they're blitzing so much. Mm-hmm. And again, Jordan Love is the third worst quarterback against the blitz this year, only better than Will Levis and Anthony Richardson in those two areas. So it's not a great matchup for him. But the Lions secondary can be beat. So, like, I'm sure whenever they are in zone, like, he's going to still have some big plays. But, yeah, the Lions should win this game.
See, that's really interesting because all we talk about is Brock Purdy struggles against man coverage, right? No, it's because his arm is weak and he's not, this, that, and the other thing. But we love the way Jordan Love throws the ball, right? Because he's flicking his wrist and he's doing all these fall away throws. But he struggles against man coverage too. Why? That's the first time I've heard that stat. Why don't we ever hear that about any other quarterback?
It's because people are obsessed with Jordan Love for no reason.
It's almost like playing or throwing against really tight man coverage is hard for any quarterback. Imagine that. Who would have thought that?
But yeah, Purdy's stats against man are like average. It's not like he's bottom of the league. It's harder to throw against man coverage.
We got a super chat here from Corey who says, "You're not serious about Purdy having one bad game, are you? Like, really? It's takes like that perhaps motivate the Purdy skeptics to go polar."
Yeah, I think he's only had one bad game. There's a difference between bad and okay. Like, I'm not saying all of his other games are great. He's had one bad, terrible game. That's it.
R.D. Ripley says, "Have you watched film? A lot of the things we blame Purdy for are not his fault. Receivers running wrong routes, no separation, etc." This is what I do for a living.
I don't think he was talking to you. I think he was talking to Corey.
Okay. Maybe. I watch film. Yes, frequently. And I don't pretend to be a film expert, but trust me, I'm in there. I'm watching it. Okay. So that was my Lions pick. Do you have another one for us?
I do. Rams -1 against the Seahawks. Now, I would have felt much better about this before Puka Nacua somehow goes down again with the same knee injury. But
I heard it's minor.
Yes, that's what we don't have too much information, but it is believed not to be serious is what we know right now. Now, I don't know what that means. Does that mean he's only going to miss a week? Or does that mean he's not going to miss any time? I don't know. I would feel much better about this line if Puka plays, but also Cooper Kupp is back. That's enough to beat the Seahawks defense. That's just been, talk about a fraud defense. The first 3 weeks they played like the worst quarterbacks ever. So people were like, see, Mike McDonald, he's changed his defense. Like he's brought it over from the Ravens from last year, but they played Bo Nix in his first ever NFL game. They played Jacoby Brissett in week 2 and then Skylar Thompson in week 3. So yeah, the defense looked good against them. But since week 4, they have been absolutely terrible. They've allowed the 3rd most points per game in the league. They've allowed the most yards per play in the league, 2nd most total yards per game, 2nd most rushing yards per game, and the most passing yards per attempt since week 4. This defense is not good, and Matthew Stafford's going to carve them up to pieces.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks defense stinks. I don't think they're good. I don't even think the offense is that good. DK Metcalf.
Yeah, we don't even know if DK Metcalf is going to come back. Without DK Metcalf, this offense is terrible.
Here's my thing. I don't know who I want to root for in that game. Do I root for the Seahawks or because the Niners have already beaten them and they haven't beaten the Rams, or do I root for the Rams? I don't know. Who should I be rooting for?
I mean, right now, the Seahawks have 4 wins and the Rams only have 3. So I think you root for the Rams to get the 4th win instead of the Seahawks getting their 5th.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess you're right. I don't like rooting. I mean, I'm not really going to root for one team over the other. And I'm not going to root for injuries, by the way. Never root for injuries, even if it's 2 teams that are the 49ers rival. Like, I'm not into that. No way, no how. I'm actually going to take a prop from that game, believe it or not. I'm going to go Cooper Kupp anytime touchdown scorer. He's plus 129. And look, I don't know what Puka Nakua's, how good he's going to be, but Cooper Kupp seems to be full go right now. McVay knows how to dial stuff up for his stars. He's going to dial some stuff up for Kyren Williams, but if they throw a touchdown, it's probably going to either Cooper or Puka. And considering Nakua is banged up, give me Cooper Kupp at plus 129. That means you bet $100, you win $129. Yes, please.
And Puka's not really a big touchdown scorer at all. So it's Cooper Kupp's a touchdown guy in this offense. Even last week when they kind of were limiting his snaps and he wasn't getting as many targets as Puka, he still got that red zone target. Cooper Kupp. Yeah, I love that.
It's Kyren Williams, by the way, is minus 251 to score touchdowns.
He scores every single game. I think it's been like 10 straight games he's scored a touchdown.
So yeah, I wasn't touching that. But then the next highest on the Rams is Cooper Kupp. And I was like, wait, the best wide receiver they have? Yes, please.
Well, Puka's the best wide receiver they have, but yeah.
I don't know. You think
Puka's
so?
So good, but he is. I mean, for whatever reason, he's a big-bodied guy, but they use Cooper Kupp way more in the end zone than they do Puka.
Yeah, Puka's kind of just like gets them down the field, and then they go to Cooper Kupp. So that was my takeaway from the Rams game. Do you have any more?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the AFC real quick. The Bills play the Dolphins. They have a -6 line, but I think they're just going to smash the Dolphins. They always do, right? But the Bills have been so good at home. They have a plus 67 point differential at home this year, averaging 38 points per game at home, while the Dolphins are averaging 9 points per game on the road this year. Now, those games were without Tua because this will be actually Tua's first road start this year. But Tua was way worse on the road last year than he was at home. They always get their butts kicked at Buffalo. The Bills just beat them by 28 points earlier. Now, Tua did get earlier in the year. Tua did get hurt in that game, but they beat them by 21 points last year with Tua in Buffalo. They've won like 8 straight games at home against the Dolphins. I think they're just going to smash them. Plus -6 all day.
It's crazy how different Miami looks when Tua's there and when he's not there. Like they look like they don't even belong in the NFL. They look like they should be relegated when he's not there. And then when he's there, their offense can really, really be dangerous. He elevates the play of Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, everybody. It's wild. He's there. I don't know. Buffalo's really freaking good, man. Josh Allen is a mutant. I'm terrified of having to play them later in the year. I am so.
And since I got Amari Cooper, like it's not like Cooper's doing great things, but he's opened it up for Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and this running game. Like they're coming together. I just think the Bills are just way too good. And I do like a player prop bet in this game, Devin Achane over his receiving yards for the the Dolphins running back. I love Achane in fantasy this week, even though I think the Bills are going to destroy them. But he's like their second target this year behind Tyreek Hill. It hasn't been Jalen Waddle, but 76 receiving yards, 69 receiving yards, 50 receiving yards for Achane in 2 of his 3 games played this year. And the Bills are allowing the most receptions and receiving yards to running backs this season.
And his over-under for receiving yards in the game is 38.5.
Yeah. And if I think the Bills are going to smash them, they're going to have to pass a lot. But he's getting so many targets from Tua because he's just like kind of dumping it off way too often.
They had a screen set up for him last week that would have went for a massive gain, but there was pressure and the ball just didn't quite get there too. So I think I'm on board with that. That one's sneaky good. I like that one. I feel like we're in a good spot this week. Even though the Niners aren't playing, I do like, it's nice to throw down a little something on some of the other games when your team is off, just to make them, just that little extra bit of interesting. I'm super excited today, Michelle, because I got a new TV, and the new TV, 77 inches.
Very nice.
And the new TV is being put up on the wall in about an hour from now. I got somebody coming to hook it up that knows what they're doing. It's going to do it all nice and fancy for me. I am super excited because the first Sunday with a new TV, I'm just going to be able to sit on my couch with my massive television and just soak in the football for 8 hours.
What are you going to watch first on it today?
It's a good question. That's true. It's like I need to break it in. I need to christen the television. I don't know. What should I make it something Niners related, or should I go to like comfort shows? What do I do?
If they won the Super Bowl last year, I'd say to watch the Super Bowl, but you don't want to do that on your new TV.
It's funny you say that. Part of my old TV stopped working properly, but also the old TV's got bad juju because I've seen 2 Super Bowl losses on that TV because it was brand new when I got it in 2019. And obviously we know what happened there with the Super Bowl. And then last year I watched the Super Bowl. There's too much bad juju. So I got to get the TV out of the house. It'll be out of the house. It'll be, I don't know, wherever the hell it's going, but it ain't going to be here. We'll have a new TV. It'll be a new season, and we'll have fresh vibes for the Niners when they get to the playoffs.
I love it. I really do. I think that does matter,
It absolutely matters. Levin thinks I'm crazy. It matters, man. All that stuff matters. I'm just trying to do my part, okay? If the Niners don't win the Super Bowl this year, it ain't going to be for lack of trying on Rob's part, all right? That's all I'm saying.
I want a new TV too. Ours is 65-inch. I want to go up to a 75.
77. Yeah, that's what I was at 65. And then I was like, you know what? Let me level up a little bit. We'll put it on the wall. And I got to tell you, it's ridiculous. It is so big. When you see the box for this thing, you're like, what? And my wife was like, what are you talking? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, it's going to be good. You'll see.
Oh, it's going to be great.
I tweeted out actually a picture yesterday of my son because he could not believe it when he got home from school. So I sent my wife the picture. Let's see if I can bring it up really quick. For those of you watching on the stream, he couldn't get over the fact that the box was wider than his arms. So there you go. If you're watching on the stream, you can see it. He could not get over it. He was super excited about it. He's like me. We really like television. So it's going to be a big day in the Stats household.
I'm very excited for you. I'm going to play pickleball. So I'm going to have fun too.
Yeah, you're going to do something athletic and social with people. Like you have a life, and I get excited about TV on a bigger screen that's 13 inches bigger.
I would get excited about the TV too.
Yeah. Anyway, enjoy the game, everybody. Hopefully you make the bets. Like I said, we've been pretty good this year. Thank you, Michelle, for all your bets. We always appreciate that. And also, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this live stream. Once again, if you want to sign up for BetUS, use promo code YouTube150. Let's root for everything good for the Niners, nothing good for everybody else. And let's get back to kicking ass next week against Tampa Bay.
Ooh, you know what? You know what I'm rooting for? What? Seahawks Rams to tie.
Would that actually be good?
Yes.
Because a tie counts as a half a win,
I don't
right?
care. It'd be great. I love when someone in the division has a tie. That's just, it always screws them over.
Well, I'm all for that. I'm all for everybody else in the NFC West getting screwed over. Enjoy the games, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye, y'all.